All right. Okay. All right. Okay.
Well, that was a movie.
This lighting is shit. This movie doesn't deserve any better. Hello, welcome back to Simon's Rants. I'm Simon, and today I'm giving my first thoughts on Dicks, the musical, which was quite the roller coaster. If you've seen the trailers for it, if you've been inundated by the trailer for it on Instagram, because it's been every other picture it feels like when I've been scrolling, a lot of people were kind of banding together and saying, is this the first A24 movie that sucks? And I wouldn't go that far, because I think there have been bad A24 movies before, so it's not the first. But yeah, I went and saw this movie anticipating it being terrible. It looked terrible. If you don't know what it is, it's a musical comedy based on a Broadway show that's now being brought to the screen that looks A, not funny, and 2, to have bad music. So what's the point? Well, it's from the director of Borat, so it's gotta be great. Also, it's got Nathan Lane in it. To be fair, I love Nathan Lane. He's always a good time. Wasn't familiar with the actress in this movie, but she's apparently a famous musical actress. Megan Mullally, I'm not sure who she is. I don't believe I've seen her in a whole lot. Actually, you know, she's in a lot of things that I've seen, apparently, but I wasn't really familiar with her. Her singing voice is fantastic, though. I thought she was fantastic singing. Her character is supposed to be funny, and it's not at all. I don't really blame her for that. I think it was just terrible writing. But anyway, let me get to the actual review. In case you don't know what it's about, like I said, it's a musical comedy about these two identical twins that look nothing alike, who are separated at birth, a la The Parent Trap. They try and trick their parents to get back together. And so, like I said, you watch the trailer, it looks terrible. It looks unoriginal, it looks unfunny, it looks like the music isn't good, the whole nine. And so I went in this movie expecting it to be bad, rooting for it to be bad, and I'll be damned, the first couple of scenes changed my mind immediately. I was like, this movie is actually really, really funny. It's self-aware. It knows how bad it is. It's bad on purpose. This comedy is actually clever at times. There's a couple of really well-written jokes going on, and also it's just ridiculous. It's filmed like a really bad movie intentionally and cleverly so. And so I flip-flopped and I was like, all right, I'm all in. This is funny, it's outrageous, it's ridiculous, I'm all in. I went from thinking this could be the worst movie I've seen this year to maybe this is gonna be on my top 10 movies this year. I'm thinking, how are people gonna react when they see this on my top 10 list when it's being absolutely torn apart by everybody? And then 20 minutes in, it ran out of gas and it became terrible. It really is, like, this movie is hilarious to a point where I think the point is when they figure out that they're brothers and then it's not funny again until, like, there's a moment near the climax of this movie that's also funny, but it just gets ridiculously unfunny, boring, and terrible. I think the whole arc with the parents is just not interesting at all. And like I already said, I love Nathan Lane. I thought Megan Mullally has a very good voice, but their characters are not funny. They're not interesting. I don't care about anything to do with them. The movie drags when they're on screen. I think the two brothers are hit and miss. Like I said, for that first section, they are hilarious, and then later again, they become more of the focus again and become funnier again. But nothing else in this movie works. Megan Thee Stallion is terrible. She's not funny at all. She's not an actress either, to be fair. She's a singer or a rapper. And I mean, I think her music's bad to begin with, so of course I didn't enjoy her in this. This movie just takes an abrupt aside to focus on her. She's got her own musical number, and it's just awful. And then also you've got, I forget his name, Bowen Yang is in this movie, and his whole shtick is he's playing God as gay, and he's like the narrator, I guess. You just cut to him randomly throughout this movie to give like his 2 cents, and it's usually just a 1 sentence, and then we're cutting away. So the whole thing is that he's gay and he's God. That's the whole punchline. That's the whole joke. It's not funny. It's not original. It's not even a joke, really, because they don't do anything with it. If you, like, okay, I don't get offended easily. If you want to make religious jokes, I think The Life of Brian is fantastic. I think it's one of the greatest comedies of all time. I love that movie. I love offensive comedy when it's funny. You can't just be offensive and expect that to be the joke, though. And that's what they did, was they were just like, look, haha, God is gay. And I'm like, that's not a joke. I'm open to you telling a joke at God's expense if it's funny. I really, like I said, I don't get offended. I think comedy can be funny no matter how offensive it is, but there is a line. If you were going to cross that line, you have to make it worth it, or you're just sitting there cringing. And I was cringing for the majority of this movie, and also being bored for the majority of this movie because the jokes just didn't land for 80% of this movie. And like I said, I went in this movie expecting it to be bad. It changed my mind. So my expectations were now, oh, this movie's actually funny. I am enjoying this. It already won me over, and then it lost me again and plummeted down from like a 6.5 territory, maybe even a 7 in that first 20-30 minutes, down to like a 3. This movie legitimately sucked, and it's a shame because, like I said, it won me over. It surprised me, it shocked me, it blew me away until it didn't, and then it became terrible. It starts to get funny again near the end for a little bit, and I don't mean the very end. It's like what seems to be the climax of the story. Maybe I'll do a spoiler section where it seems like, oh, the story is wrapping up. That 10-minute, 15-minute section is funny, and so I'm like, oh, okay, maybe this movie has a good beginning, has a good ending. It's just the middle section that they didn't have enough steam. They ran out of gas. But no, then after it gets funny again briefly, it then becomes terrible, and the most offensive and just terrible moment of this movie is in the end. And like I said, I don't really get offended, especially about like religious things, because I'm not religious. I don't care, but it is so bad. It is so bad what they try to say. And I'm not even talking about the religious stuff, because it's not. It's the preaching of this movie is just, if you're really that curious and you don't want to see it, just hang out for the spoiler section, because I'll get right into it. But it's disgusting. This movie was disgusting to me, and not in a funny way. And so I was just let down, because it started out, like I said, so good for just a tiny section. Like, there's moments where they're parroting musicals, and if you're into musicals, you can really laugh at it. If you hate musicals, you can also laugh at it, because you can see what they're making fun of. And also, you know, there's very obvious things. Like I said, they're supposedly identical twins. These guys played these characters on Broadway where you can kind of get away with them not looking alike as much. They're both tall white guys. In a movie, they look nothing alike, and so they address that, and they're self-aware about that. I thought that was funny. There's also just a lot of play on masculine men and, you know, gay men playing these heterosexual masculine men, and I thought that that was really well done. But like I said, that lasts 30 minutes tops. I don't even think it's that long, and then it just becomes painfully bad. This was one of the worst movies of this year, and one of the worst movies I've seen, period. This movie sucked. It was awful. And yeah, it's weird, because like, this movie was the darling of the Toronto Film Festival, and that is pathetic to me. It's like that movie won like the Audience Choice Awards, and as somebody who is now involved in festivals, it is such a shame that festivals value movies being different more than they value them being good. And I get it. You know, when Everything Everywhere All at Once came out, I was so happy because it was different. But that movie's also amazing. It's a great movie. And so I get it. Like, I love movies that are different, movies that try different things, movies that are weird, quirky. I'm a sucker for that. But the movie also has to be good, and I think it's a shame that people are so starved for originality that they will eat shit because it's not on the menu regularly. That's just a shame. This movie was dog shit. I only am giving it a 3 as opposed to like a 2 or a 1 because of that 30 minutes total that was funny. And it's only a 90-minute movie, so that's a third of the movie that's actually pretty good. But the rest of it's so abysmally bad that I want to give it the lowest rating possible. But there were a couple of parts that were funny, a couple of parts that were enjoyable, so I can't really give it the lowest rating possible. But man, I hated this movie when it's all said and done. And it's a shame, because there were some really funny moments at the beginning and for that tiny little section later. But anyway, that's what I did think, spoiler free. I don't think anybody that's going to be watching this video is going to be surprised by my reaction to this movie. I think most people are avoiding this movie. It was hard to get tickets to see it because it just wasn't showing anywhere. I live outside of Philly and I had to go into the city because none of the suburbs were showing it at all, anywhere. I couldn't go to Jersey. I couldn't go anywhere local. I had to go into the city and, you know, possibly get a parking ticket. I'm not sure what happened there. Long story. It's hard to find this movie, and I see why now. It's just amazing how this movie, it had a really high rating when it was at the festival. Like I said, it won the award or whatever, and it's just plummeted into the 4s and the 5s or whatever it is at now. I haven't checked today, but it's bad. It really is bad. Not surprising anybody. The trailer made it look terrible, and it was maybe even worse, yet somehow better than the trailer made it look for those moments that they showed. Like, a lot of the moments that were actually funny were in the trailer, but the trailer made them look not funny, but then the movie, they actually kind of were funny. They redeemed those moments, I guess, through the censoring of the trailers. It kind of killed the joke in a way, but regardless, the movie sucked. Don't go see it. You probably weren't going to anyway. Nobody seems to be. It's bad. It really is bad. Don't go watch it. Don't give them your money. Don't even, out of morbid curiosity, go see it. This movie sucks. It needs to fail. I don't want them rewarded for this movie in any way. I think that this movie should have cost them money. I hope A24 learns a valuable lesson in the kind of movies that they're supporting. I hope that they lose money on this as well. I hope everything involved in this movie is a failure. You even saw it in the bloopers. If you're putting the bloopers in your credits, you know that that's just a bad movie. Like, you don't do that unless you know the movie's bad. But anyway, Nathan Lane in the bloopers was repeatedly, they had him like 3 or 4 times in the bloopers go like, I can't believe I'm in this movie. This is the most embarrassing thing I've ever done in my life. What am I doing? And they're all like, ha ha ha, this is funny. And it's like, I think he was serious. Like I said, I love Nathan Lane, and I wish nothing but great things for him. I want nothing but success upon his career. But guess what? He already got paid for this movie. He can just leave it behind, and the rest of them can burn. They can all go down with the ship. He doesn't have to ever look back on this. He doesn't need to remember it. We can give him the eternal sunshine treatment and have it wiped from his brain. He got the money, he got the paycheck. He's fine. The rest of them, fuck him. Anyway, I'm getting into spoilers now. So spoilers. The thing that I was alluding to that was just disgusting to me is like the twist or the ending or whatever in this movie that really just threw me off was like, so the whole joke that's been going on is like, these are two very overtly gay acting people. The actors are gay and they're playing gay even though these characters are supposedly straight, and then at the end of the movie they both realize suddenly that they're gay. And not only are they gay, they're gay for each other, which, okay, sure, except for that they're supposedly brothers, twin brothers. And so they have like this ridiculous montage of sex, and it's played for laughs, but the whole time I'm just like, ew, like they're literal brothers. It's not like even like stepbrothers or something. They're twins. They are blood relatives. It's incest, and it's played for laughs. And I'm like, that's just not funny to me. It's gross. And maybe it's funny to somebody, but okay, it's just not funny to me. All right, moving on. This joke isn't funny, but it's not a joke anymore, or at least if it is a joke, they take it too far because they're ending up getting married, and then they're having a marriage officiated by God, and God's like, yeah, no, incest is totally cool. I love incest. Love is love. And it's like, it's not like it's played like a joke. Like, there are a lot of jokes in this moment, but the way they're talking about it makes me believe that they weren't joking, that love is love, because all love is gross in a way. Even straight sex is kind of gross if you think about it, which, sure, okay, I get that. But no, incest is not good. Incest is not fine, and they're really hammering that home. And like, I get it, like a lot of that scene, maybe the whole scene is supposed to be funny, but it's not said like that. The jokes in the scene are like, they keep saying that God is an F slur. Like they use that punchline repeatedly, which also to me isn't funny. And it's like, it's not like I'm offended by it necessarily. It's just that it's offensive for the sake of it. It's not actually funny. So I'm offended that you thought that was funny, because I'm not offended by you calling God the F slur. I don't think he would be offended either. You know, like, I don't think he would care, because it doesn't hurt his feelings. What I think it's stupid is that you thought that that was a joke. It's not a joke. Calling somebody, whether you're gay or not, calling somebody the F slur, the hard F slur, is not funny on its own merit. It's like me calling a friend a bitch or a dick. That's not funny. There has to be a punchline involved in that, and there were no punchlines involved. It was just, oh, the offensive thing is therefore funny. And that's pathetic. It's terrible writing. It's not good comedy. And so you're doing this terrible, shitty comedy, meanwhile preaching that love is love, including incest, and I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about? It's just, it was bad. It was terrible. And like, there was some goodwill built up closing out this movie where it's like, all right, the plot became to revolve around the sewer boys, which is another joke I just didn't find funny, but whatever. I wasn't like here or there on it. It's not like I hated it, I just didn't think it was funny. They ended up escaping, so then they have to go into the sewers and get them, and that's when I felt like the movie was actually kind of funny again, because you've got this really cheap looking set piece, you've got, you know, some pretty good jokes, like once again the interaction between the two brothers was enjoyable. It was a good reminder why this movie is funny, is that it's bad on purpose and they're just doing the stupidest, most ridiculous thing possible at any given moment. So it kind of was like, all right, I'm back in on this movie a little bit. It's not gonna make my top 10, but it's okay. You know, I'll give it like a soft 6 or something. And then it immediately from there goes into the incest thing, and I just was like, oh my god, ew, like, no, this is terrible. So yeah, this movie sucked. It wasn't particularly funny for the majority of the time. It was horribly written. The music isn't good, except for, I mean, Megan Mullally, I think that was her name. I've said it a couple times, but I keep forgetting. Yeah, Megan Mullally is a good singer. I enjoyed her notes. I enjoyed seeing Nathan Lane, even if he wasn't doing anything particularly funny or whatever. I enjoyed his presence being there. Other than that, this movie sucked. I never want to see it again. I don't want to think about it again, but I'm going to have to talk about it at the end of the year, because it definitely will be on my worst movies of the year list. I guarantee it. This movie sucked. It really was. Just terrible. And the jokes, it's like the worst crime you can commit as a comedy is to not be funny. And the majority of this movie wasn't. It just wasn't. Man. Yeah, anyway, so that's what I do think. What do you guys think, though? If you've seen it, let me know in the comments below. And, of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. My God, this movie sucked.